I clicked go live, and I tried to do it by sharing my screen, so it might look really weird out there in the Facebook world. So, but whatever. Elda and I are going to carry on. I'm Marysa Ennis. If you watched our last video, you met me or Kari and me. And today I'm talking with Elda, who is one of our school psychologists in California. And she and I are both very nervous about being live right now. Elda, where in California are you?
I'm in the in Foster City, California, which is in the Bay Area, about 20 miles south of San Francisco.
Sweet, thank you. Okay, Elda is one of my favorite school psychologists ever. She and I met because we both work for psych services, and I asked her if she would be my next person for this Facebook Live situation, and if she would help me with the topic of learned helplessness. And she and I were just talking before we went live about learned helplessness, well, not about learned helplessness, but about being school psychologists. And we accidentally started to kind of talk about kids and issues that come up. So I was like, oh, we better pause and go live. So here we are. Hi. I'm gonna turn it over. Okay, Elda. One of the reasons we're talking about this is Kim Butler, who Kristen has worked with in Los Lomitas School District, said that learned helplessness is a topic she would like to discuss because it's something that comes up in our work. I had talked about it from the perspective of teaching kids with disabilities, but she also threw out there, which is true, it comes up for parents of kids with disabilities too. It's when you've got a child with a disability, it's something that comes up a lot. And then I want to clarify, an assistant professor at Texas State University, Dr. Andrea Dennison, corrected me, and I'm very grateful for that, Dr. Dennison. I said that learned helplessness was I called it a non-scientific term because I've always thought of it as like a buzzword or like a pop psychology term. But she shared an article with me, and since my Facebook feed with Kari, I've been looking into it and learning about the research that was done on learned helplessness in the late 60s, early 70s, and how the term came to be. So here I'm just going to stop yabbering and ask you, Elda, what do you think of when you hear the term learned helplessness? What do you think of?
I usually think of people who are in a situation where they are not feeling that they're in control of what's going on in their situation, and they are trying to get things taken care of or done, but not with efficiency or I don't want to even call it mastery, even just feel like that they're being able to accomplish what they want to set out. And so what ends up happening is that they kind of give in to the status quo rather than recognizing the assets and tools that are all about them, but they just get stuck in a perception that they are not able to manage and control the situation at hand.
Any idea? So this is one thing I learned from the research that Dr. Dennison shared with me. Any idea why we call it learned helplessness, or have you learned about that? I learned about it today. What's that?
I think learned helplessness, it gives me the impression that I don't want to say given up, but it's almost accepted.
Yeah, totally.
What has happened to be the way it's going to be, and not being able to affect a change whatsoever.
And you exactly nailed like the definition in Wikipedia, which I'm sure is very accurate, but it's accepting that you're powerless. And the way, I'm assuming the reason that the Dr. Martin, I guess I should know how to say his name. I'm sure that Dr. Dennison will tell me, but this research was done by Dr. Martin Seligman. Andrea, join in anytime to tell me. But he did research with dogs and basically like putting dogs through trauma back in the 70s when you could do things like that with animals. I'm glad we don't, because some of the stuff he did was pretty mean. But what the research shows that when when animals in this instance were subjected to really traumatic experiences, that were not within their control, that even when they then did have control, they didn't try to escape the traumatic experience anymore. They didn't try to get away from it. So originally, my understanding is it's originally focused on trauma and very kind of horrific experiences that you can't get out of, and then what happens, how that affects your psychology, and you stop trying over time. It has morphed into, and there has been more research done now, that just having that feeling of powerlessness can cause you to stop trying. So in the case of kids with disabilities, maybe they haven't been exposed to what we might think of as like overt trauma, or what we might think of as overt abuse, but they have developed this sense that they cannot control their outcomes, and so they stop trying. So that is ultimately there.